played a wrong note, you know.
Some twangy guitar this week.
Well, it's rather versatile. We'll get into that in a minute because this is... All right then, hello everybody, welcome to Tom's Guitar Show. I should enunciate. Hello, I'm Tom. They call me Guitar Tom because I'm often seen with a guitar. People used to call me on the phone back when we had a call-in show back in the olden days. They asked me questions, things like, "Hey man, what's your show about?" I say, well, it's about an hour, about guitar playing, all things guitaristic. So you can't call me anymore and ask me questions about the care and feeding of your guitar. What kind of guitar is right for you? How to play the guitar? Related topics.
They can, however, tweet you.
They could tweet me. Or they can stop and talk to me at Hy-Vee when I've got frozen food in my hand and I'm trying to get to the checkout line. That happens.
Or email to All Things Guitar Tom.
That's right. You could. Tom's Guitar Studio at Gmail. There's one you can use. Anyway, we can talk about guitarrón, guitarras, sitars, lutes, uds, vihuelas, banjos, balalaikas, bouzouki, bajos, sextos, bandurias and bandoras and bandolins. They say cavaquinhos yet. I don't even know if I do. I say this every week, man. Anything like so lutes, uds, vihuelas. Yeah, okay. Let's say sitars, chitoles, vihuelas. Let me think. Guitarras. Ukuleles, banjos, and balalaikas, and bouzouki's. I think anything you can pluck on. If you want to talk about mandolins and stuff like that, I'm down with that. I like mandolins a lot. I kind of fooling around with them lately. I might do a mandolin show one of these weeks. Bassoons and bass guitars, timbales and timpani, and trombones and trombamarinas, and pipe organs and piccolos, ocarinas and accordions, harmoniums, harmonicas, harpsichords, clarinets, and clavinets.
You know. I'm so lit I glow.
I've been trying to address that a little bit.
Yeah.
So we'll see what we can do.
The crew, we're working at the crew. We got this thing working at the last moment, I think. I hope we did because what's going on here is you see we've been remodeling the studio, so the floor has been refinished, the walls have been painted mostly, the molding is down. We do not have the acoustic baffling stuff in the corners yet, so we have a lot of reverb. So you might think we put a lot of reverb on it. Actually, it's just the room. So anyway, that's what we're doing. In fact, I'm going to turn my reverb down on the amp. I noticed while I was playing because it sounds fine at home where it's kind of dead, but here. Anyway, where was I? We were doing the preamble. We talked about politics, world events, people's personality problems. It's fine, but we're going to keep it clean. This is a family program. Okay, hang on. I'm going to turn this down a little bit here. This is
This is do-it-yourself TV, and you can do it yourself.
Yeah, you can try.
Just come on down. They'll give you the classes. Turn you loose with a camera.
It appears we're training a new intern in the control room right now. So, and I'll have you know that this show, if you do come down here, usually this show is the sacrificial lamb. So people who are learning how to use equipment and everything usually work on Tom's Guitar Show. So. That's the way it's been for years. Okay, so this week, as you know, those of you who hang on my every program here, know last week we had to leave early, and I had a guy, Jim, finished off my show from Uptown Bill's, and I left, and we had a board meeting for the TV station because I'm on the board there, and I got to go there and be bored. But what I wanted to do was I have this my Roland JC40 amp that I have had at the Tuscan Moon on the patio all summer long for my little patio music thing. Got it home.
Where people can see you on weekends.
Yeah. But turns out not this Friday. I've got a banquet. I'll be at the River Power Company, the IRP, the IRP. Yeah, not a commentary on their chef or anything like that. But I heard, but on Friday. But I'll be there Thursday and Saturday at Tuscan Moon, and we can go into that later. But anyway, so now I'm back to playing the flamenco guitar, or the electric flamenco, electric classical. I have a couple that bring different ones. There, and different repertoire, different kind of guitars. I've been doing the hollow body jazz thing. I'm not done with that, man. So, hey, first yawn. Anyway, so the other thing I've been doing is I've been, just as of last night, I pulled this thing down off the wall. I just wanted to show it to my student as he was leaving. And this guitar actually has a nickname. I call it Little Red. And this is actually a guitar that I got in a pawn shop some years ago, and it was really cheap, but it was really filthy dirty and gouged up in a couple of places. So I took it home, and actually this was the subject of a show a couple of years ago. Took it home. The pickguard was white, but the fender decal had been left on it for years, and it sort of like adheres to the plastic of the pickguard, because there's this, it's just like this plastic film you can peel off. It has an adhesive. But if you wait down long enough, it becomes part of the pickguard. And then I tried to get it off, and I tried all kinds of agents to try to scrub it off, and nothing worked. I didn't really like the pickups, and it was a pretty bad hummer. So I went to the dollar store, and for $1 I got some red nail polish. So you probably can't even see it. There's places here. I can only feel them. It's where the like right there. You can barely see that, right?
Yep.
Yeah. So I colored in the gouges and the finish, and then I had those boys down at the Musician's Pro Shop put a bouquet of lace sensor pickups on it. I have the gold, a hot gold, and this is two hot golds, and this is a slightly darker gold. And it's a long story how this one ended up here. So anyway, this guitar is actually pretty cool. It was. I paid more for the pickups than I did for the guitar. And also you got the black pickguard and the black knobs and the black end for my selector switch. And I've got this guitar which actually does quite a few interesting things. It has a lot of different tones. And so anyway, I showed this to my student last night, extolling the virtue of getting an inexpensive used Mexican Fender, and then because they make a pretty good guitar down there in Mexico. Some people don't like the pickups as much, so I say, well, swap out the pickups for something else. Create your own Frankenstein's monster is my advice. So hang on, I'm going to fool around with this real quick. I'm going to see if I can't. Let's do the 5, man. Let's do the 5. I don't know if I like that. Let's see, let me try this. Of course, if I really turn it up, sorry, I just want to try that one again, okay. All right, sorry, I was just fooling around because I'm getting this bizarre reverb in this room. All right, so anyway, this is as I say, a 2008 perhaps vintage Mexican Stratocaster and lace sensor pickups with just a replacement pickguard and knobs to make it look. I think black and red to me looks better than red and white. I don't want to denigrate my high school, City High, where the colors are red and white. And for those of you who went to City High, denigrate means put down. How's that, huh? Turn that one around, a Steve Allen joke? Anyway, never mind. Okay, so. Seriously, I know people who went to West High after all these years because their test scores are slightly higher, and they have like wealthier, better connected, more like doctor kids and stuff there than the City High has some trailer courts and other things, and so there's this air of superiority. Oh, you went to City High, was your head like smaller than other people's, or there's something. Is there something going on there? Are you a second-class citizen? So, all right. So I was playing a bunch of stuff at home. Thought it sounded pretty good. A fellow came over to my house. He wants to do a song. He wants to record it somewhere. And so all the stuff I was playing before, I got his song going through my head, sort of. And it's a 3-chord song. I mean, it's a lot of songs people write. I mean, you can do 3 chords, and then get in touch with your poetry. I want to say that I know a lot of poems, but they all rhyme with some guy from Nantucket. Yeah. And I don't really tell them on this program.
This family show.
Yeah, that's right, yeah. Actually, I had a student yesterday, a college kid, and she was doing, we were doing, I guess Amazing Grace came up in her, I shouldn't even tell people, well, I'm going to tell you anyway. It came up in the method book, as a 3/4 time with ties, 3, 1, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1. And then I hipped her to something. I mean, when I'm saying I hipped somebody, you're old enough to know the lingo. Yes. Some of those young people out there probably. And that is that if any limerick will work perfectly with the music to Amazing Grace, or House of the Rising Sun for that matter. So, and then I told her, that I couldn't really, I couldn't sing any of the limerick that I normally might, in privacy of my own home by myself. But I could just I did write a series of limericks about household pets when I taught elementary school music, including like the first graders and first graders and kindergartners were doing a little songwriting thing. So, I would do, so it'd be like, he's Toby Gray, and that's okay. I think I'll take a, he's Toby Gray, and that's okay. His tail is ringed in black, but he sounds like a rotor or a lawnmower motor whenever I massage his back. There was an old man from up in Nantucket, and now I see, I'm not going to go any farther.
There once was a lady from Niger who rode off with a smile on a tiger. They came back from the ride with the lady inside and a smile on the face of the tiger.
All right, that's one. That's violent but clean.
A clean one.
That's clean. Yeah. Well, there are a few, a marvelous bird is a lowly pelican whose beak can hold more than his belly can. I don't know. Anyway, but so I taught her that simple thing because I've been involved. I've written some terrible songs, and I try not to sing them ever in public because some of them they're just like making fun of songwriters. But by telling her that, she was enlightened. She said, "Really?" So that made her whole, whatever she's paying for that course at the college, worthwhile. And I said, well, yeah, we're here to educate and enlighten. So I did my job. So I don't know what she'll come up with. All I know is I can't sing any of the products of my imagination in that setting. I could, unless I don't want to work there anymore and I don't want to go to the trouble of quitting. But I don't want to sit through a review board or something like that,
Because the Me Too movement will get you.
Yeah, something will happen. I don't think she'd be one to blow the whistle on. Maybe she would. Or who knows? There might be somebody out in the hall, you know? Somebody waiting for their violin lesson or something. You know what they're like. I don't mean fiddlers, but the difference between a violin and a fiddle is a violin has strings, and a fiddle has strings. Yeah, anyway, okay. So. Yeah, nice little guitar. I going through this phase, I was thinking about selling a couple, not this one necessarily. I have one more. I actually have 10 or 11, depending on how you want to count Stratocasters. I have a couple other guitars that are sort of Strat-like, but they're not anywhere close. I've got 10 guitars that say Fender's Stratocaster on them, not Squire or something else. I have one that says Snow on it. I have another one that's a Reverend, and it's sort of like a lot like a Strat, but anyway. I was thinking about selling one of them to make room for something, and there's another guitar that I almost brought on the show, my Tutti Frutti colored Reverend Charger, which I think about selling. It's a nice guitar, but and then because as anybody who follows this my long pageant, my narrative about my gas, guitar acquisition syndrome, I've been into I went through a big Reverend phase. And I bought a bunch of Reverends over the last couple of years, and it was like I bankrupted myself. And every dime I could get, any addict, if you're a gambler or heroin addict or something, get any kind of money you can, put it toward your habit. And I did that. But then I've been going into the D'Angelico thing, and I've been through a couple of, I had 3 of them at home at one time, but one I wasn't committed to, and I took it back, because it's bright blue, like another one that I had. So I had this sort of plan to actually spend a whole lot of money over the next few months or something and get the one's almost $2,000, the ES-335. That's the one, that's the guitar that B.B. King played. It was a Gibson ES-335. Well, this is their takeoff on it. And it looks like a nice guitar. But now I'm thinking about waiting a while because I can't get it in the color I want. And I'm thinking, there's this Ibanez. I sold all my Ibanez guitars in this divestment of Ibanez phase I went through, but there's one, and it's a big, fat red hollow body, just a really red, with one black pickup, at the end of the fingerboard, and the fingerboard is ebony, so it's black fingerboard, and it's black and red and everything, and so to make my long, boring story, just a little bit longer and more boring, I've been looking at pictures of this, you see, and now, of course, every time I check the weather on my computer or something, or my little iPad, pictures of them come up, because they got my number. Anyway, so I'm thinking about trying to get that one, and that's less than $1,000.
If your cookie says, there he is again.
Yeah, that's what he's back. What's this guy into? Just think if I started looking. I have looked for other things, One time, years ago, assault rifle people were using was a 223, a Bushman, semi-automatic, gun. That was the one they used. It's the one of choice for a lot of mass shooters, So I wanted to look up.
It's a discount AR-15.
Yeah, basically, yeah. And it's it is to the AR-15 what the SKS is to the AK-47. Anyway, never mind. I mean, look these things up because I'm interested in everything, right? I don't actually want to buy an assault rifle. I have an old pheasant gun, and we've gone out in the country and shot a couple of guitars for video clips. Not for years, but anyway. But anyway, so I looked that up, and then in the sidebar I get all this, NRA stuff and gun stuff and like that, and so I'm afraid of what I might what they'll know about me, out there. Even if I disable the cookies or clean it all out, they'll still know what I'm into. Fortunately, my biggest problem is the guitar acquisition issue, you see, and it's a little embarrassing and everything like that. But the police don't care, as far as I can tell. And anyway, if I were trying to get a judicial appointment, it probably wouldn't work against me. The fact that I've never been to law school or something might work against me, but anyway. Okay, I don't have that issue. I don't drink too much beer or I don't drink any beer and offend women.
I couldn't get over how many times that guy said, I like beer.
Yeah, I guess he likes beer a lot.
We get it.
Yeah, you like beer. We should reword that. Was it Tom G. Hall song? I like beer. Makes me a jolly good fellow. That one? Yeah. Champagne's too expensive. Whiskey's too rough. I like beer. I think that's Tom T. Hall, isn't it?
I don't know. Probably. I'll have to look that up.
Yeah, look it up. You know, what we got to do is you got to get you a laptop in here again. And then we also should like try to figure out how to put it in there. So, for instance, what if I start going on and on about this one Ibanez guitar, you know, and then you look it up, you could put it on the screen, or we could put it back on this great big screen we have behind us, you know, that one there that says Tom's Guitar Show on it, and we could put all kinds of stuff back there. You could like ruin my reputation on the show by putting whatever you want. But anyway, never mind. Okay. But anyway, so
or make it
what?
Your reputation.
Oh yeah, maybe that's what I need.
You know, that one time I brought the video in with the showgirls, and people were telling you to move over so they can see the girls.
That's right. That's right. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, that's why they're more interesting than I am, probably. Yeah, I wish I were better looking and everything for TV, but oh well.
Of course, they can still listen to your music while they looked at the girls.
But yeah, I could probably come up with some music specifically. We could completely reformat the show and have pretty pictures of you know women of various yeah.
Or rifles,
or rifles. So
guitars.
anything more interesting than me, I
That's
suppose.
theme weeks.
Yeah, theme weeks. Okay. This time we'll have the exotic dancers. Next week we'll have assault rifles, but once a month we'll do cats and kittens. Kittens playing.
I don't know. Kittens kind of own the internet already.
Yeah, I suppose. Yeah, yeah.
I think kittens are a little overexposed.
Yeah, probably. Yeah. Well, anyway. So, I was saying about this guitar a long time ago when I got down this track is this big red hollow body with the F holes and the single pickup and the black, you know, ebony fingerboard. I was looking at that, you know, the picture of that, and I was like looking at the side view, and I think, if I had that guitar, I think I'd call it Big Red. So I was talking to my student last night, my last student of the evening, Buzz, and he came in to borrow one of my guitars. And on the way out, you know, he's leaving, I was telling him about the Big Red, and I said I had a guitar already they call Little Red. And I don't name very many of my guitars, just a few of them I've named. And so I showed him this one. And you know, just like, you know, this red looks a little oranger kind of in the monitor here. I don't know what it looks like at home for people. But it's kind of pretty, I think. It's, yeah.
Pretty close to a candy apple red.
It is supposed to be candy apple red. That's what this. That's what that's what it's called anyway in the finish. But so anyway, that's my. I'm nattering on about the. You know, I just have this thing. You know, like I'll sit around. You know, it's important to notice that. Okay, so thoughts are in your head, and I certainly have thoughts in my head and certain kinds of logic. As a guitar player, I think about chord theory, like notes, combining notes for harmonizing with the root of the chord, and things like that. You know, and I think of other things like my financial situation, which is somewhat analytical. But then feelings are in your body. So you can sit in a chair and you can think about this and you can think about that, and you feel nothing. You know, just feel normal. You know, but if you sit and if you're sitting in a chair and you're thinking about something, or you're looking at pictures, not of exotic dancers necessarily, but of red hollow body guitars with the ebony fingerboards and one single floating black pickup there, and you look at that thing and think, wow, I could play that. And
or 57 Chevys.
Or 57 Chevys, candy apple red, if you want. And then you get a little excited, thinking, oh, I want that, so I can have a thrill. And then you finally, you know, I've gone through this experience a few times. You think about it, you look at pictures of it, you research it, you look at the YouTube videos of people playing it, and they're usually all crunchy and, you know.
And by then your computer is just full of cookies.
That's right. And then every time you turn on the computer, you get more pictures of it. Yeah. And then you think about it, and then you go down. I go down to the pro shop, you know, and I talk to James. And they give you 3 months to pay it off, you know. So I go in there, and then I make my commitment. And then time comes. Sometimes it takes like months. My last Reverend, man, was it my last or the Reverend Spasm before that? By the way, I got these two Reverend Airsonics, and one's silver, one's light green, but they have different pickups on them, and they're both like amazing guitars. And one has a faux rosewood fingerboard, which is something that's like wood that's been compressed and filled with resin and then baked in an oven, so it has a feel of like almost like ebony, somewhere between ebony and rosewood, but it's not an endangered wood, and I was nervous about that. It made me nervous, and then it took a long time for that guitar to come in because they were out of them. They had to get more, had to build more. So it came, and it was like, wow, you know, and I played the thing for a week, and then I kind of hung it up, and then I kind of didn't get back to it because I was on to the... Well, that's when I bought the green one.
Yeah.
And then I went through that one with the green one, and then I put that one up, and then I played the silver one for a while, and then I put the green one in, and that's cool, I had them on the show, and then I moved on. But so the thing is, so you order the guitar, you wait, you know, so this takes months, because that took months to come in. Actually, what it was they were going to announce, that's right, they were going to announce their new guitars at the NAMM show in January, very early 2018. And then they're going to, you know, make them available for the stores to sell. Now, NAMM, people say it stands for the National Association of Music Merchandisers. But it's actually not available till mid-May. So, or mid-March, depending. I think I got mine about March. So I waited, you know. First one, I waited months for January to come around, where I was squirreling little bits of money into the guitar shop, you see, and still building up a balance. And then I saw them. I said, well, I want to get one of those. I'm waiting for the new models to come in. Exciting new news is going to come. And yeah, it's the Aerisonics. So I want to get one of those. And then they said, yeah, okay. And then he ordered it. Back ordered, come back next week, back ordered, come back next week, back ordered. Months go by. And then perhaps it was the third month. Le voilà. There it was there. So then I got two because, you know, when you have your supply cut off, you overdo it. You quit smoking for a week, and then you have one cigarette, and then you go back and you're smoking like twice as much as you were before to make up for lost time. Yeah. Anyway, maybe I've said enough about addiction. I've had quite a few recovering alcoholics take lessons, and they tell me these things. But like I tell people, I stay away from that and the gambling and the heroin and all that stuff because I have no trouble with the guitar thing. You know. But anyway,
You feel all right when you wake up after collecting guitars.
yeah.
A little poorer maybe, but
Poor. Maybe my wife will look disappointed or something, you know, if she finds out. But she's okay. She's actually like, you know.
but don't have the headache.
Don't have the headache. I don't have the poisoned. I don't feel like I'm poisoned. Stuff like that. I don't wake up in jail. That's a nice thing. I've known a number of people who hit bottom when they woke up in jail. I don't know what hitting bottom would be when you. Buying one of those pointy Dean guitars or whatever, the pointy things and the bright colors and the skulls on it, the heavy metal Dream ones. It's actually kind of a cheap and chintzy guitar, but it's like really scary, you know, like something out of a horror movie. That might be hitting bottom when you're a guitar collector. I don't know. I can't tell. I'm not. Who am I to judge? I have not one but 3 banjolailies. I can't really judge anybody else, you know, for what they like.
Right.
I mean, like, who am I? If that he is without sin cast the first stone. The punchline of that is, oh, Ma. Anyway, sorry, I shouldn't have said that one.
Well,
No.
why not?
Well,
We have an hour to fill.
I suppose. Anyway, well, let's see what this thing will do. So we have over here, that's the neck pickup all by itself. Okay, neck and middle. So different. Compare that with just the neck. They're different. How about the middle one? How about middle and bridge? A little sharper yet. Yeah, pretty good for that. Okay, well, here's bridge by itself. That's bright. So compare this with the neck all by itself. What if I loop a little something simple here in the E minor in the bridge position, and then I will solo in the neck position, the other end of the pickup spectrum. Here we go, and I'll go like. Middle position. Well, that's fun. So there I was making a rhythm part with my little looper here, my Ditto XL, using the bridge position, which is raspy and bright and twangy. But of course, the neck, this end, is soft and round and jazzy. So if I did a real smooth rhythm part, and then we'll see how raspy I can get with the other thing for lead. Well, I thought it was good, clean family fun anyway. I mean, you know, a Stratocaster. I had a real serious Stratocaster acquisition issue for a number of years, you know. It's actually been going on since the early 80s, I think, maybe 1979 even. I don't know. Maybe 1980, I think. I might have got my first Stratocaster in 1980. And, it was a 1963 model, the rosewood fingerboard. And somewhere along the line, because I was broke and I had to pay a bill, I sold it. And you know how that is? Some fellas out there, you know, they're talking about that one that got away, you know, like a woman. They want to, you know, that one they might have married, or that girlfriend they had once, you know, and they did something stupid and lost her affection, and she's gone. And they spend the rest of the story trying to get her back. I think that's the arc of a lot of bad movies. Now me, I don't know. I may have had a few girlfriends, a couple dozen or so, maybe more, back in the day. But I don't regret them all being gone. Especially not if my wife were watching this show, I wouldn't regret it at all. But the guitars that I've lost along the way, and a couple of the cars that I might have wanted to keep, you know. But anyway, Mr. Skopinski, sir.
Did you want to hear about the symbol this week?
Oh, sure.
Right now?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, have a microphone. Put it right in your face. And,
Thank you, Bob, for sharing the microphone. Yeah. Is my sound in there okay, guys? My sound? Okay, all right. So we discussed, we talked about the symbolum. You know, at the beginning of the show, you always list all these wonderful instruments.
Yeah.
Anything is fair game on Tom's Guitar Show. Yeah. So, and I threw in cymbalum, which I associate with Hungary and Hungarian culture. And so I have a general idea of what it is. Metal strings, hammered, kind of like a dulcimer and stuff. But I wanted to find out more details to be able to share with the audience here on Tom's Guitar Show. So first of all, to spell it, it's the common English spelling is C-I-M-B-A-L-O-M. So if you're looking it up on the internet and YouTube, there's plenty on YouTube of symbolums. That's the spelling. Sometimes it's spelt with a Y, and there are various Eastern European variations of that. But for practical purposes, that's a good way.
Some of them are spelled in Cyrillic, but anyway, go ahead.
It can be spelled in Cyrillic.
There are titles in Cyrillic on YouTube.
Yeah,
of course.
Absolutely.
In Japanese kanji. Wait, go ahead. I'm sorry. Yeah,
I watched a Korean Symphony Orchestra performance of La Mer, and it was all in Korean. So the cymbalum is popular all throughout Eastern Europe, not just in Hungary, but in the surrounding countries and as well as Greece. The Roma musicians, formerly called gypsy musicians, who travel around quite a bit, very often used it in their bands. And that's probably the most stereotypical, when you think of the cymbalum, that's what you think of as a Roma band, Hungarian band playing gypsy Hungarian music. The instrument has steel strings. It is very similar to the dulcimer, but it's always been a little bit bigger. And the cymbalum probably that I was thinking about, that I associate with certain classical pieces, was invented in 1874 by V. Josef Schunde, and that's called the concert cymbalum. And that's where it becomes almost like a piano in many ways, and that it's big and loud enough to project in an orchestra. And various variations of that were used in the nightclubs and cafes and of Budapest and by the gypsy bands. It has steel strings, and like a piano, there are multiple strings. Like on a piano, when you go into the upper ranges, it's not just one string, but they're groups of 3 generally, and then finally 2. The lower notes on a piano, it's one string, but they're very thick. They're wrapped in copper, and it's very similar to the layout on the cymbalum. And so in the treble range, the middle to upper range, they're actually grouped in groups of 4 strings. And the lower notes, the bass notes, are in groups of 3 strings plus the copper wrapping. Okay, and they're struck with a beater, which what I saw on YouTube were maybe 1.5 feet long and kind of curved like a crook at the end, that's how they play them. Again, that is where it's different from a dulcimer. The dulcimers only have 2 strings at most. It's a much smaller instrument, and the beaters are smaller. So I think that my analogy when we first talked about it was correct. Think of the cymbalum as a piano, whereas a dulcimer is more like a harpsichord.
Or a clavichord almost.
Or a clavichord, a much gentler sound. And the word cymbalum, I couldn't find an etymology, or I didn't think to look for an etymology, but it may relate some of the early keyboard with wire strings, cymbal, that C-E-M-B-A-L, whatever. There are early keyboard instruments with that prefix, so I'm wondering if that's the same etymology where we get the word cymbalum. I'll have to check on that. Anyway, like I said, in 1874, Mr. Schunde made the big concert cymbalum, which is the one we can hear in symphony concerts. It's interesting, actually, Iowa has a little bit of a connection. He did that partly in the 1870s. Hungary was going through a wave of patriotism. That was about the time where they were trying to break off the yoke of the Habsburg Empire, the Austro-Hungarian Empire. There was actually a revolution. And we can see that here in Iowa. There is a county in northwestern Iowa, Kossuth County. It's up northwest of Ames. Lajos Kossuth was a great Hungarian freedom fighter who rose up against the Austrians during this time in the 1870s.
They named a county after him? Or?
They named a county after him. I'd like to know why. I mean, I don't know if there are any Hungarians, but my guess is that in the late 1800s, which is, I'm guessing that's when the county got named, Kossuth probably had an international reputation as a freedom fighter, like Nelson Mandela. He was South African, but the whole world knew of him and respected him. So my guess is maybe that's why they named a county after him. But so that our Kossuth County comes basically from the same impulse here. It was presented at the 1878 World's Fair, and it really was a hit. Everybody loved it. Later on, a Romany cymbalist, I guess that's what you call a cymbalum player, is a cymbalist. So
From Cymbalist Jr.
I
didn't know he had a gig, man.
A violinist in the family. His father was a violinist. A guy named Aladar Ratz, he knew Stravinsky, and Stravinsky was quite taken with the cymbalum, and Stravinsky used the cymbalum in 2 of his works, Renard, the Fox, and the original scoring de Les Noches. Zoltán Kodály used it in the Harry János suite. Liszt used it in his Hungarian Rhapsody No. 6. Bartók used it in his Rhapsody No. 1 for violin and orchestra. More recently, Pierre Boulez has used it. Various more recent Hungarian composers. Elvis Costello, the British musician, composed a ballet and used it in that. It's popped up on film and television. Miklos Rózsa, the Hungarian Hollywood composer, used it in a movie called The Power. Lalo Schifrin used it in his score to Mission Impossible, so it pops up on Mission Impossible from time to time. Alan Parsons of the Alan Parsons Band has used it. Harry Parch, and this is relates to guitar. He made some experimental zithers, which is a plucked, strummed version of this, called the harmonic cannons. We'll have to talk about Harry Partch someday.
Okay.
And a more recent guy by the name of Sonic Youth. Okay, Glenn Branca built on that. He had an electric hammered table zither that he called the mallet guitar. And Sonic Youth has used some of his tunings with their electric guitars.
Huh.
So the Cymbalum covers
That's very interesting.
A lot of miles. So
I could say two things. One is that the piano is a percussion instrument where you hit a string with a hammer.
Exactly.
However, you push a key to do it, and their ancestors, like the clavichord, was that, and that's probably people have been banging on strings with sticks for a long time. I've done it myself just for fun with a drumstick on a guitar. So that's one thing. So it's an interesting concept. It's like a proto, piano percussion world, as opposed to like the harpsichord, which is a plectrum instrument.
Plectrum. Yeah.
And it was like a harp, only you push a button and it plucks the string for you with a key. And the other thing is, I think we should say cymbals, sitars, and cymbalums for the prologue for this show.
There we go.
We can add that one, because I like to do them in 2s and 3s.
They're very good. That'll fit in very nicely.
Bob has dulcimers, dobros, and didgeridoos.
There you go.
So we could cymbals, sitars, and cymbalums.
Very good.
Okay, we'll try to add that. I might forget, but then you can run out here and say it if I forget.
Okay, we'll do that then. Okay. Well, thanks, Bob, for letting me use your microphone, and I'll put it back there.
Okay, now we know more about cymbalums. I think they're cool, man. I think they're cool. I like stuff like that.
Beautiful sound.
Yeah, beautiful sound.
If you're going to plug your weekend schedule.
Oh, yeah, well, maybe I better mention now. Okay, so I will be at the Tuscan Moon this weekend. However, I will not be there Friday. I will be at a banquet. But don't despair. I may have mentioned Emilio, and I had him on the show once. Young Emilio, we had a bunch of guitarists. We had a little guitar thing here once, and he played something. And Emilio was one of my students up at Coe College. And he's of Emilio Ayala. He's I don't know if I should mention. He's sort of a Tejano. I guess he's kind of this borderline kind of guy. So, I mean, he actually was living in Mexico but going to high school in Texas. He's an American citizen, but his parents live in Texas, Mexico, right across the border in Laredo. But anyway, he's been taking guitar from me for several. He's a junior now in college, and so he's going to fill in for me. Now, I've been compelling him to play classical guitar music and to do chord theory stuff, because he's in the jazz band at Coe also. So he will be playing in my stead. And I say, he's a pleasant enough fellow, and if he plays pleasant music, even if he's just looping on a few chords or something like that, because he knows how to use a looper. So he's going to use my setup and plug his electric nylon string guitar in. And I say, if he's not as good at it as I am, that's okay with me, because I don't want to lose my job to a younger man. So, anyway, 6 o'clock or so, we'll have Emilio. So if you go there and he doesn't look like me, that's Emilio. But I'll be there Thursday night. I'll start early, more like 5 o'clock. And Saturday, I don't know, I start 6:30. I started right after 5 this week, because they're going to have an early night, and the place was packed from 5 until like 6:30. And then it dwindled off, and it was a modest night until like 9:15 when I quit. Now sometimes I get there and it doesn't start going until 6:30, and I play till 10, so I don't know what will happen. But make reservations. You might have to wait. Make you wait. So anyway, yeah, I'll be at the Tuscan Moon this week. The show's almost over, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
Well, I like this guitar. I think I like a lot of guitars. I mean, a lot of different guitars, but I also like a lot of guitars. It's like somebody who is, like Imelda Marcos had like gazillions pairs of shoes. She couldn't possibly have worn them all or even tried them all on. But I don't have hundreds of pairs of shoes. I don't even have hundreds of guitars. But so I'm going to start the Tom's Guitar Show theme, which I start on an E7 here. But I'm just thinking of all the other, like the E9. right? E7 flat 9, E7 sharp 9, sharp 9 flat 5, flat 9 sharp 5, flat 9 flat 5, sharp 5, sharp 9. Yeah, I don't know. I teach this stuff, but it's like my palette of colors I can paint with. All right, see you next week. I'll be back at Tom's Guitar Show. Maybe we'll get the soundproofing up here as a. Well, I will see you as it's a TV. It's a one-way thing. You can see me on your TV.